Hey, I'm Jeffrey Rickman. I'm a Global Methodist clergy, and this is my channel called PlainSpoken. TJ and I have been going through the foundational documents of the Global Methodist Church for some time. This is TJ. Say hey, TJ.
Hi, everybody.
TJ and I have gone through the entire book of Transitional, book of Doctrines and Discipline, and now we are on Judicial Practice and Procedure. This is a document that is referred to several times in the primary document of the denomination. It's expected that this is going to be slightly amended and adopted at the Convening Conference in September. It deals with how it is that we are going to be dealing with conflict resolution in the church and people who commit crimes against the church and our shared covenant. What's the procedure that we go through? The concern here is the United Methodist Church, out of which we came, became moribund and corrupt in how it enforced its own policies. Are we going to have good policies here that are matched by good personalities? We don't have control in all these things, but what we can do is just do our best to understand what has been designed, how it should be augmented. Should is kind of how Southerners talk, and we're from Oklahoma, Midwesterners, so I can say that. But anyway, it's kind of dry, some of it, but all of it is going to be not dry when it's ever actually put into motion. So we already had one episode on this. This is the second episode on the JPP document. We covered the first 5 sections. Now we are getting into section 6, which deals with stuff corresponding to paragraph 810, 811. Last week, we dealt with the section dealing with point 5 was the Committee on Investigation. Depending on if you're a bishop, clergy, laity, there is a committee responsible for investigating the charges against you if you cannot initially enter into a just resolution with the aggrieved party. So now on point 6, we're dealing with referral of a complaint to a counsel for the church. Many of these terms correspond with other legal settings. Counsel for the church would be a prosecuting attorney. TJ, anything else that needs to get said before we begin our analysis today?
Yeah, I don't think so. It says it does say see paragraph 810. The book of discipline has been updated. The transitional book of discipline has been updated, so it's 811. So those numbers are going to be a little off.
Yeah, that's going to be a frustrating thing for us with each updated transitional book of doctrines and discipline. They're not releasing an updated JPP document. So the Judicial Practice and Procedure is going to reference previous versions of the TBDD. So you have to use your brain as you're looking for relevant passages in the Transitional Book of Doctrines and Disciplines. So that's what I've got on the screen right now is paragraph 810 was right here. That dealt with the composition of the Committee on Investigation, which is still relevant.
It's just 0.5 in the JPP. So it just looks like it's one ahead.
Yeah.
Off.
So the section we're going to be dealing with is referral of a complaint to a counsel for the church. Both of these documents, for your information, are posted for free on the globalmethodist.org website, and so you can go there and download them for yourself. They do not have the lovely highlighting and underlining that my copy does, but that's, you're going to have to learn to live with that. So we're going to go ahead and get into the JPP document, and then I've got the Transitional Book of Doctrines and Discipline also pulled up in case we need to reference something from there. All right, well, I'll read first. Okay.
However you want to do it. They're both really long.
Both sections that we're reading today? Okay, I don't mind reading. Point 6, referral of a complaint to a counsel for the church. See paragraph 811. Point 1, when the respondent is a bishop. A, within 30 days of the conclusion of the supervisory process, absent a just resolution or the dismissal of the complaint, see last week's episode if you don't know what those processes are, the Transitional Leadership Council chair.
Right, because it's a bishop. So who's over the intro complaint process for a bishop would be the chair of the Transitional Leadership Council.
TLC.
Yeah, until the
TLC, the Transitional Leadership Council, is the primary governing body of the denomination. For some reason, I was just having a brain fart and trying to remember what that was. But yeah, that's the chair of that.
Until the first general conference.
Right.
Yeah.
After which point, that body is going to be called, I have it written down in my notes, it's going to be called
a name for it?
the Connectional Council. Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, this is something. There are many new terms for different positions and bodies within the GMC that are listed in the job description for Keith Boyette's replacement. That's where I found him. So, his replacement is going to be the Connectional Operations Officer. The chief body governing in between sessions is going to be the Connectional Council. The bishops together are not going to be called the Council of Bishops, they're going to be called the Assembly of Bishops. Then the commissions, the general boards and agencies of the United Methodist Church, we're not going to have those. We're going to have general commissions, and then we're also going to have task forces. This is the new terminology that I've
I was all
learned.
right with all of those until you got to task forces, and that just seems very Orwellian
The weird
almost.
thing about the task forces is, and we covered the official commissions that are already in place. I don't know if you remember, Kara
Vaguely,
Nicholas gave me the list of the different bodies, and they all correspond with the Transitional Book of Doctrines and Discipline.
Right.
All that was legit. But they also have a number of task forces that they've commissioned, one of which dealing with the episcopacy. I wasn't supposed to report on what they were doing. I kind of got a slap on the wrist about that. They have, I don't know how many other task forces at play right now. Don't know who's on them. And I've put in requests to 2 GMC officials saying, what are all the task forces, who's on them? And they've said, don't know. Isn't that interesting?
I'm just going to give them the benefit of the doubt. All of this is coming together real quick. So
Yeah.
if they're throwing these task forces together as need arises, there's a chance that there are a lot of people that probably don't know who they are. Well, they should. I'm just going to say, okay, they're throwing this together really fast. Whenever you have the general conference, get it together. That's your time. That's your deadline.
Okay.
Get all this set in stone by then.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go back to the document. I already stalled out on like the second line.
Yeah.
The Transitional Leadership Council chair shall name an elder within the same geographical region as the respondent to serve as a counsel for the church. The counsel for the church shall draft and sign the complaint as a judicial complaint, forward it to the Committee on Investigation, and represent the church in the judicial process as provided in JPP 6.1 and 7. We are in JPP 6.1 right now. We will get to point 7.
Okay, so just so I'm following this, they've had the introductory. Okay, somebody's filed a complaint. And the word in this case is the bishop. Somebody's filed a complaint against the bishop. The TLC, and I think there was another body, look this over, see if it's actually substantial, or if there's nothing to it. So if there was the 3 options.
I think there was a Committee on Investigation.
That was probably the other one.
So I think there was initially TLC chair and maybe a couple others. No, I think the council that was responsible for it was the TLC chair or someone they appointed and a few other members of the TLC, and they would determine if there was something to the charge or not. Does that sound right?
I was going back and I'm trying to find out where it was at.
But if they
so there's the administrative complaints, and what was the other one?
Judicial.
Okay, so this is for judicial stuff. Transition. This is 0.5, so we were literally just there. 5.1. The Transitional Leadership Council shall appoint a global committee on investigation. Bishops who are members of the TLC shall nominate persons to be elected. Transitional Leadership Council shall nominate persons reflecting blah blah blah. That's all. The rest of that is who's going to be on that
committee on investigation. But then, is that anticipating? They've already okay. So who has determined that it's worthy of even having that? You have dismissal of a complaint that can happen in procedure for supervisory response.
Okay, so this is there's the supervisory process. This is after that. So within 30 days of the conclusion of the supervisory process. The supervisory process is 4. Is 0.4. Okay, these are still judicial complaints.
Okay,
So
yeah.
these are all still judicial complaints. They start out with a supervisory response. So if the respondent is a bishop, the supervisory response, this is 4.2, uh, shall be administered by the chair of the Transitional Leadership Council or their designee. So the Transitional Leadership chair or whoever they decide is going to be in charge of this is going to go over this to begin with.
Okay, yeah. That's okay. I sort of remembered that. There's the TLC chair or their designee hasn't gotten to the point yet of getting more than one person involved, right?
Yeah, no, I think this is just they're determining whether it's substantial or not.
Okay.
If it's substantial, it goes on to
They can dismiss the complaint, or they can resolve the complaint, or at that point they can refer to the Committee on Investigation.
yes.
So then
that's
you
where
have
we're at now.
how do we put the Committee on Investigation together for that, and then how we're on how is the council, the council for the church established, right?
Yeah. So whoever the church decides is going to be prosecuting this, I guess, in a judicial sense.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at now. So it's gotten past the first step. Now we're picking out, okay, who is going to represent the church in this case?
Okay, very good.
Okay.
Okay. So now we're on 6.1b.
Okay.
The council for the church, as appointed under paragraph 810.1a. Let's see. Does that correspond? I don't think so.
It would be 11A.
11a. Chair of the TLC or their designee shall handle the supervisory response as per JPP 4.2, which we just referred to. If a just resolution is not agreed to and the complaint is not dismissed, the chair or the designee shall notify all active bishops and the relevant conference episcopacy committee of the existence and nature of the complaint and appoint counsel under JPP 6.1.
Okay. And then, yeah. So B would be extra stuff. That's not what, yeah.
Okay.
So it's 11.1A.
Okay. So the council for the church shall prepare, sign, and forward the judicial complaint and all documentary evidence under the consideration, including but not limited to information from the supervisory process, relevant information from the respondent's personnel file, and a suggested list of witnesses as deemed appropriate to the chairperson of the Committee on Investigation, the complainant, and the respondent. The counsel for the church shall be responsible for providing a progress report of the development of the judicial complaint every 30 days to all parties, starting from the date of appointment until the complaint is finally resolved. The respondent shall be given an opportunity to submit to the Committee on Investigation a written response to the judicial complaint within 30 days of receipt of the judicial complaint. The chairperson shall convene the Committee on Investigation within 60 days of receiving the judicial complaint. So this timeline matches up other stuff that we've done. So I went over it. This council is supposed to be within the same geographic region as the bishop.
Right. And I guess that would, if we're setting up regional conferences, which I'm against because I think it's ridiculous and unnecessary, overly complicated. But if they did that, that the council would have to be members of that area.
No, when it's saying geographical region, that doesn't say to me that it corresponds with regional conferences.
Geographical regions?
Yeah, it has the same word in it, but I think it's actually saying, like, they need to live close.
Okay, so I guess in my head, I'm envisioning, like, say the bishop that's under complaint is in the United States.
See, and I'm thinking he's in Georgia, and so we need to get...
Specifically Georgia.
Hypothetically,
Okay.
He's in Oklahoma, so we need someone who's like in Arkansas or Texas or Kansas. You know, they're within driving distance of. I wish they said they're within driving distance, but I think they're just saying like somewhat close to the respondent.
Yeah, I guess with driving distance is kind of subjective because when we were talking about like the Midwest,
Maybe that's why they said same geographical region.
Yeah.
You know,
Tennessee's like 3 hours from us.
Yeah.
Not 3 hours, 11 hours.
Sure.
Something like that.
So anyway, if the point is I think if they were referring to regional conferences, they would say regional conferences rather than same geographic region.
You think they're leaving it open?
I think they're just saying make sure that the council is not on the other side of the world or somewhere far away where they can't really do this process well.
It's not very inclusive.
It is.
Because then you run into the issues with like Oliveto, who was tried in her specific area, and they're like,
yeah.
whatever.
So a valid concern, I think, would be if this is a person, especially who's in the bishop's jurisdiction, then it would be easy for the bishop to mess with the process,
Sure.
So
yeah.
it seems to me that it'd be good to have counsel for the church not be at all connected to the structures that the bishop is connected to, other than the general church. But that's not what they designated here.
Yeah, I don't know. Let's go on. We're gonna get stuck.
Point 2, when the respondent is a clergy person, so we've covered bishops, now it's just clergy. Within 30 days of the conclusion of the supervisory process, absent a just resolution or the dismissal of the complaint, the bishop shall name an elder within the annual conference in which the alleged violation took place. Okay, similar concept. To serve as counsel for the church. The counsel for the church shall draft and sign the complaint as a judicial complaint, forward it to the Committee on Investigation, and represent the church in the judicial process as provided in the JPP. So we covered this last week, that the Committee on Investigation for Clergy has already been established as a permanent committee of every annual conference. Right. So there doesn't need to be putting together an ad hoc committee or anything like this, as is done for laity or episcopacy. There's already a committee in place. The council just forwards them that stuff.
Yeah, under the assumption that this is going to happen to clergy more often than it is bishops or laypersons.
Ostensibly. It doesn't say that, but that's
sure,
the only...
Yeah, that's that.
Okay.
Makes sense.
The council for the church shall... Oh, no, wait. We're on point B now. The council for the church, as appointed under paragraph 811.2a, shall prepare, sign, and forward the judicial complaint and all documentary evidence under consideration, including but not limited to information from the supervisory process, relevant information from the respondent's personnel file, and a suggested list of witnesses as deemed appropriate to the chairperson of the Committee on Investigation, the complainant, and the respondent. The council for the church shall be responsible for providing a progress report for the development of the judicial complaint every 30 days to all parties, starting from the date of appointment until the date the complaint is finally resolved. The respondent shall be given an opportunity to submit to the Committee on Investigation a written response to the judicial complaint within 30 days of receipt of the judicial complaint. The chairperson shall convene the Committee on Investigation within 60 days of receiving the judicial complaint. Did you notice any substantial differences between the procedure of that?
No, just the who's responsible for it. So, both of these are okay. The church is appointing whoever. If it's a bishop, it's going to be the TLC chair. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so if it's the bishop, it'll be the TLC chair that's appointing the
council
lawyer. Yeah, the council essentially, the lawyer essentially.
Yeah.
For the church. If it's a clergy person, the bishop within their area is doing it. And basically that person is in charge of getting all the information together, sending it to the responsible
council
people.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
reporting every 30 days.
Yeah. For 60 days, so 2 months essentially. And I think there was one extension of an extra 30 days if everybody agreed on it.
Yeah.
So possibly 3 months for a church trial, essentially. Does that sound right?
I think so. For some reason in my head, I was thinking that the trial could go on indefinitely, and you just have to report on it every 30 days. But no, now I am recalling the 60-day with the 30-day option.
Well, this one says the chairperson shall convene the Committee on Investigation within 60 days of receiving the judicial complaint. So they've got to get it all done within 60 days, barring an extension that everybody agrees on. One extension for 30 days.
Yeah. So the good things about this are you're not going to have these indefinite delays that not just the UMC system has, but also the American legal system is covered with.
Right.
I can only speak to that in Oklahoma, but it's infuriating how long these things can drag out.
Well,
Here
how long did what's her faces go on? Carcano.
Carcanos?
Yeah, it was like 2 years.
Yeah, they had. So another question will be, they violated the timeline of the Book of Discipline for her. They extended it far beyond what there was provision for. So what happens if there's a similar thing in the GMC? But yeah, I don't remember the specific unit of time that they went over, but it was far beyond. It wasn't a matter of days; it was a matter of months, if not years. It took forever to get resolved.
Yeah, it was excessive.
So we just finished the counsel and the process for clergy. Now it's point 3, when the respondent is a layperson. If a just resolution is not agreed to and the complaint is not dismissed, the presiding elder or district superintendent shall within 30 days appoint a blank church, clergy, or layperson to serve as counsel for the church. I had no idea what to do with this. Do you see that?
Yeah. Maybe they're just trying to think of a different name for them. I don't know, because it's the same thing.
What do we call this person?
Yeah.
I don't know. Leave a blank spot. We'll come back to it.
Yeah. So I think it's interesting they can choose either the district superintendent can choose a clergy person or a lay person to do that. Which, okay.
If justice is justice, it knows no rank.
Yeah, I don't know why they wouldn't include that for maybe the lay persons aren't as important for
obviously
clergy or
obviously.
a bishop. Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know what I'm sure there's some kind of thought process behind that. I just don't know what it is.
So a clergy or lay person to serve as counsel for the church. The counsel for the church shall draft and sign the complaint as a judicial complaint. Forward it to the Committee on Investigation, which is laid out here in JPP 5 and 7, and represent the church in the judicial process as provided in JPP 6.3 and 7, which we're going to get to in a minute.
No, we're already, 7, yeah, okay.
B, the counsel for the church as appointed under paragraph 811.3a shall prepare, sign, and forward the judicial complaint and all documentary evidence under consideration, including but not limited to information from the supervisory process and a suggested list of witnesses as deemed appropriate, to the chairperson on the Committee on Investigation, the complainant, and the respondent. The counsel for the church shall be responsible for providing a progress report of the development of the judicial complaint every 30 days to all parties, starting from the date of the appointment until the date the complaint is finally resolved. The respondent shall be given an opportunity to submit to the Committee on Investigation a written response to the judicial complaint within 30 days of the receipt of the judicial complaint. The chairperson shall convene the Committee on Investigation within 60 days of receiving the judicial complaint. A lot of repetition of the language. I don't notice any substantial difference. The stuff I find myself wondering is about confidentiality. It doesn't say, for instance, that you can't share these written reports with the general public, that these are confidential or anything. I find myself wondering what's going to happen, or like this response from the respondent, this written response to the charges. Could they hypothetically just publish this on Facebook or somewhere so that everybody can see it? Or is this process explicitly done behind closed doors? It doesn't seem to me it's made explicit.
It does in point 6 of the next paragraph. It says records of the Committee on Investigation. So we might get into that. I didn't actually look over it.
Okay.
So it looks, glancing at it, it looks like there might be something that will answer that question.
Nice. Good call. You ready to take us into the next section?
We'll see.
Okay.
7, Committee on Investigation Procedures. See paragraph. That's probably going to be 812 instead of 811.
Let's confirm that. I think Committee on Investigations Procedures. Okay, that's paragraph 812.
All right. Number 1, parties and counsel. The parties are the respondent in the church. So whenever it references parties, it's talking about the respondent who's getting the complaint against them and the church. Is that right?
Yeah, just everybody, I guess.
Okay.
Parties and counsel.
Well, I guess the church would be the council. No.
It's going to say that below. All right, get into it.
Okay. Counsel for the church, which is A. Counsel for the church shall be entitled to choose one assistant counsel without voice who may be an attorney.
See, I don't know why they comment on whether or not. I guess somebody is ostensibly going to say, "Well, they're attorney, so they're." I don't know. I don't. They may be an attorney, which also they may not be an attorney. I just don't see the point of having that there.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I don't know the reason. Like, maybe somebody would say, "Oh, you can't have an attorney, a real lawyer. You can't do that." And this
Yeah,
is like,
we
no.
only need pretenders.
Yeah, yeah. So, but I mean, that's just the only reason I think that's there is because the counsel for the church might actually need somebody that's more legal minded than a random bishop or clergy or layperson or whoever they decide is the
I wish
counsel for
that the
church.
language they had was they can literally be anybody.
Yeah, doesn't matter. Okay. All reasonable expenses of the counsel and assistant counsel shall be paid by the annual conference or general church if the respondent is a bishop, but no honorarium or compensation shall be paid.
So you can compensate for any expenses, but you can't pay anybody for doing this.
Oh, okay. Okay. I guess I'm glad you said that because that threw me off completely.
Uh-huh.
So you can't hire somebody that's paid out by the church, but you can compensate them for like hotel or
Yeah,
travel or whatever.
Exactly.
All reasonable expenses. Okay.
Yeah.
When the counsel for the church needs to spend significant time away from ministry in order to fulfill their duties, the annual conference shall provide at its expense supplemental ministry assistance. Okay, so somebody, what is a significant amount
If
of time?
if I drag it out as long as possible,
90 days.
who knows?
I mean, that's the extent of it, correct?
Well, maybe it's worth reconsidering that. Maybe we misunderstood that because, well, 3 months.
I mean, that's a long time. Like if it's a
yeah.
lead pastor, like it's
Uh-huh.
if it's a bishop, I guess it doesn't really, depending on what the roles of the bishop are.
Yeah.
If they've got a lot of administrative duty that they need to take care of that can't be taken care of by the district superintendents.
Yeah.
Sure. If it's a lead pastor who's in charge of the church and the church has no other pastor, that could get really, 3 months is a long time.
Sure.
1 month is a long time for that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So,
Yeah. So drag it out. If you want a vacation, drag it out. Conference has to find somebody to cover your post for 3 months.
Yeah. Which it makes sense. That's their job.
Yeah.
B, Committee on Investigation. The Committee on Investigation shall have legal counsel present, who shall not be the conference chancellor, for the sole purpose of providing advice to the committee and the annual conferences at the annual conference, or if the respondent is a bishop, general church's expense. So,
why do you think it can't be the chancellor? That seems strange to me.
I don't know. Have we had a specific definition of who the chancellor is and what their responsibilities are?
I
don't
vaguely remember covering that in the TBDD, and it didn't really. It took for granted that somebody would have a working definition already of what a chancellor is and does.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. The definition of a lot of things is, I think, one of my biggest issues.
But essentially, what a conference chancellor is understood to be is like the conference lawyer. They are the primary legal consultant of the conference. So why it is that they could not be counsel to the Committee on Investigation, it's very strange to me because it seems like they'd be uniquely positioned to give good counsel on that.
Well, I'm not saying, I don't think it says that they can't have the chancellor there. It says they may have legal counsel present who doesn't have to be the chancellor.
Doesn't say doesn't have to be. Who shall not be the conference chancellor. That's weird to me.
Yeah.
Did we start on a list of questions for when we actually talk to an expert?
No, we should have done that.
Well, start it now, because that is definitely...
Who is the chancellor and why they can't be...
What does a chancellor do? There's no job description. Why can't they serve as counsel why can't they serve as legal counsel to the Committee on Investigation? I think those are good questions.
What does the chancellor do, and why can't they be on the committee? Why can't they be
legal counsel for the Committee on Investigation?
Yeah, you think you would, if their role is supposed to be the conference or church lawyer, essentially.
Like,
It'd be easy. You
I
would
would
want to
want to
use
know
them.
what that guy or gal thinks.
Yeah, you would
Yeah.
want to use them rather than hiring someone. Well, I guess they can't hire somebody, but going out of their way to
I
find
know
somebody
it's
else.
not meant this way, but the way I read it is, if you're going to try and do this process, make sure that you tie one arm behind your back. Give us the arms.
Yeah, I'm sure they've got some good reason.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Um,
Let's be clear. I'm the stupid person here, not the guys that crafted this. I could not craft something like
yeah, the
this.
guys that did this were actual lawyers, and we're
Right.
far from that.
Yes.
Okay, so I don't remember where I stopped, but it's still on C.
Well,
Oh no, we
point
are
B.
on C. Yeah,
Point B.
B is where we stopped.
Yeah, we stopped. Who shall not be the conference counselor, right?
Well, I
Chancellor.
finished that whole thing because
Oh,
the
you
last
did?
part of it's
Oh, yes,
the
you're right.
expense.
Forgive me.
So C, a respondent who is a bishop or a clergy person shall be entitled to select a clergy person from the Global Methodist Church to serve as the respondent's counsel. A respondent shall be entitled to choose one assistant counsel without voice who may be an attorney. In no instance and under no circumstances shall the respondent be entitled to receive an award of compensation for or reimbursement of any expenses or fees associated with the respondent's use of an attorney. So the respondent, whoever's beginning complaint against, whoever's got the complaint against them, they can hire a lawyer, but you can't say, okay, I won the case. The church now has to pay for my lawyer. Is that what?
I don't think you can hire a lawyer. You can't pay anyone. You have to find someone within the GMC to represent you without getting paid.
A respondent shall be entitled to choose one assistant counsel. So they can choose a counsel from the Global Methodist Church.
So
And they can then choose one
point
assistant.
B, you can select a lay member or clergy person from the GMC to serve as your counsel, and that guy or gal shall be entitled to choose one assistant counsel with voice, but not vote. Without voice, without voice. So they can't talk. They can just be counsel to the counsel, defense counsel.
Right. Yeah. So they get a counsel. That's the first sentence. They can have somebody. They're entitled to a clergy person from. So specifically,
They have to be GMC, but they can be clergy or laity. But they're
Does it
not
say
a
laity?
lawyer. Yeah.
a respondent who is a bishop or a clergy person shall be entitled to select a clergy person.
Oh, I was looking at point D. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah. From
There is a lay respondent who can have lay or clergy, but then if
So
bishop or clergy,
Yeah.
it's a clergy person.
right.
Okay, my bad.
To serve as the counsel, and then they get an assistant counsel if they want it, without voice, who can be an attorney.
Yeah.
And it's saying if you hire that in the next sentence, if in no instance or under no circumstances shall the respondent be entitled to receive an award of compensation. So that's saying that's under the assumption that they're paying somebody.
No, it's saying nobody makes money off of this.
Well, sure, yeah. You can't sue the church. You can't win the case or even lose the case and say, I had to hire a clergy person or I had to hire a lawyer to be as my assistant counsel.
What I'm saying,
Then I want you to pay for it.
What I'm saying is, counsel for the church doesn't get paid. Counsel for the respondent doesn't get paid. There's no
by
money
the church.
by anybody.
Well, then there's no point in putting that sentence in there.
I think it is. I think it puts someone in the position of finding someone who will defend them for free.
It doesn't. Yeah, but it doesn't say you can't do that.
That you can't pay them?
That you can't. You can't pay them.
I think it is saying they can't be paid.
They can't be reimbursed. You can't receive an award of compensation.
In no instance and under no circumstances shall the respondent be entitled to receive an award of compensation for or reimbursement of any expenses or fees associated with the respondent's use of an attorney. I think you're right.
Okay. That's just I thought you were going to push back against that. So they can if they want to, because hypothetically, the church, say I'm under complaint for something.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody's filed a complaint against me. How is the Global Methodist Church going to say, "Oh, you can't hire a lawyer. We don't do that. You can't have a counsel that you pay somebody." Like, who are you to say that?
I like it because then, if nobody wants to defend you, you're just a jerk. And if you're a jerk, we don't need to waste church time on you. If you can't
maybe,
get someone to represent your case for free, then you don't have a good case, and you need to
or
shut
you
up.
just don't have those connections.
Well, and
Like
we
how
have a
many
connectional system, so we should have connections.
within the church? Yeah, but with like,
Yeah.
well, I'm just saying, like outside of the church. Say I've got a lawyer friend that I know that doesn't go to the Global Methodist Church,
Yeah. If they're really your friend, they'll do it for free.
or an acquaintance.
Okay.
Like I
Well,
don't know.
then, yeah.
Whatever. Anyways, if I want to hire somebody, I'm going to hire somebody. But the church is not then
My concern
required
is
to
people
pay for it.
intentionally gumming up the works because they got money, and so the Book of James is very concerned with how rich people use the legal system to their own advantage. I would love it if we had a system that was hostile to that.
All right.
Moving along.
Moving along. D. So that was with a bishop or clergy. So
Yeah.
D is for a lay respondent. A lay respondent shall be entitled to select a lay member or clergy from the Global Methodist Church to serve as a respondent's counsel. A respondent shall be entitled to choose one assistant counsel without voice who may be an attorney. In no instance and under no circumstances shall the respondent be entitled to receive an award of compensation for or reimbursement of any expenses or fees associated with the respondent's use of an attorney. So same thing. The only difference was a lay person can select either a lay member or a clergy person, right?
Yep.
Whereas the other one's just a clergy person.
Yep.
Okay. 2, preliminary meeting. Basic procedural decisions shall be made in a preliminary meeting. During this meeting, the respondent and the respondent's counsel, the complainant, and the counsel for the church shall have the right to argue procedural points before a decision is made by the chair. All procedural decisions and such unanticipated decisions as may come in the course of a meeting of the Committee on Investigation shall be rendered in writing so as to be available for consideration in all further possible stages of the case. The chair shall provide any rulings in writing of the parties
To the parties.
at least 5 days prior to the initiation of the hearing before the Committee on Investigation. So they get together beforehand and decide how the procedure is going to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't, without knowing what a normal procedure would look like, that doesn't really make any sense to me.
Yeah, surely they'll have kind of a blueprint that they give everybody and then augment to fit everybody's calendars and put out the information.
Okay. So yeah, I guess that makes sense. If it's okay, when is this going to happen? Is this okay with everybody?
Yeah. Here's the deadline for submitting the different documents that the Committee on Investigation needs. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Gotcha.
I think that makes sense. And then just put everything in writing why the decisions get made so that down the line.
Yeah. In my head, I was trying to, it was, okay, we're starting the case. We've already got all that stuff lined out. Then how is it going to go within that? And I'm like, why is that? That should be the Committee on Investigations.
Yeah.
It decides, okay,
yeah.
You get to talk first, you get to talk second, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. Well, and then, if ideally, if you do schedule everything out on the front end, then everybody involved just has to schedule around that instead of halfway through going, oh, I can't make that. Let's figure something else out.
Yeah.
No, just go ahead and get it all. I think that's what this would be for.
Okay. 3, hearing before the Committee on Investigation. A, if possible, the respondent and the person or persons bringing the original complaint shall be brought face to face, but the inability to do so shall not invalidate an investigation. Notice of the hearing shall be given to all parties, including the complainant, and they all shall be permitted to be present during testimony, but not during deliberations. Proceedings in the investigation shall be informal. No oaths shall be taken. All procedural decisions shall be made by the chairperson. Anything on that one?
I underlined no oaths shall be taken because I think that's evidence for biblical awareness. Christ said that we should take no oaths. That was supported in James. This is one of the things I recently learned, that there are people in leadership thinking about reworking the general rules of the United Societies, which is a binding doctrinal document. No, not the general rules. It'd be the Articles of Religion. One of the articles of religion says it's no big deal to swear oaths in a court setting, which flies in the face of Scripture. And so I like that they're not designing a court process here that flies in the face of Scripture. This pleases me.
Good.
Okay.
Yeah, I have nothing to say on that one.
Very good.
Yeah, it's okay.
All right.
B, interview of witnesses prior to or outside of hearing. The chairperson shall have the power, whenever it is appropriate in the committee's own discretion, to appoint at least 2 members of the committee to interview any witness or witnesses, provided that all parties may be present without voice, and that 3 days' notice of the time and place of such interview shall be given to all parties. The members so appointed shall create a verbatim record of the interview and certify the record by signature for transmittal to the chairperson.
So what I think I initially imagined was you would have like a court date where everybody has to be there at the same time. And what I think this indicates is, no, when there are different witnesses, they don't have to all arrange a schedule around a final meeting. Rather, you can have different interviews with different witnesses at different times, that the only 2 people that can ask questions are people on the Committee on Investigation. Neither the respondent or the complainant can ask questions. It's just 2 people from the Committee on Investigation.
Right.
They can be present, but the only people are committee members.
Yeah, so if the committee wants to say, okay, I want to interview this person to figure out what's going on, but neither the church council or the defendant, what's the respondent, say they want to interview them. They don't bring them up at all. They can call them as witnesses, but they decide not to for whatever reason. The church council said, well, I want to listen to that person.
Well, I don't get the sense that either the church council submits a list of potential witnesses to the Committee on Investigation. And I'm sure that the respondent does as well. But I think the impression I get is that the Committee on Investigation decides who it wants to interview as witnesses, and can even call other witnesses that aren't recommended.
Sure. that's what this is talking about.
Okay,
People that aren't recommended.
Yeah, okay.
And they decide, okay, we want to do this, but we're going to do this outside of whenever the actual hearing's taking place.
Oh, so this was only to do with witnesses that hadn't been recommended?
Well, I would assume, like, I don't see there's a point in an interview if you're bringing somebody up as a witness during trial, because I would assume, and I don't know, I mean, I'm just assuming this, the committee would be able to ask questions.
Yeah, okay.
So I do like that both of them, they have to create a verbatim record, and then both the parties have to sign off on it.
Oh my gosh, what happens if one says, no, you didn't say that?
Yeah. Hopefully they get that done right. They would, there's no time period between that could be an issue.
Yeah.
All right, C, examination of witnesses. The Committee on Investigation may call and question such persons or request such written information, including but not limited to materials from the supervisory process, as it deems necessary to establish whether or not there are reasonable grounds for formulating a charge or charges. The committee may receive from the council suggested lists of persons to be questioned, sources of written material, or questions to be asked. There shall be no right of cross-examination by either the respondent or the persons bringing the original complaint.
Isn't that interesting? You can't cross-examine. Well, maybe you can, but it's not a right. The committee will decide if you can cross-examine witnesses.
Did you take this as like, this is the actual proceeding, like we're all together in a courtroom?
Yeah, examination of witnesses is that's what the section header is.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I'm not. In my head, it was outside.
It starts with how do we determine who the witnesses are that are going to be called, but then it goes into in the actual procedural stuff. Yeah, so it's only in the last sentence that it gets into.
So is it your understanding that they get these? So we're having the courtroom session.
Yeah.
The respondent's there. The church counsel's there.
Yeah.
The Committee on Investigation's there.
They're the ones running
They've given a list of both the respondent and the church council have given lists of who people to possibly interview.
Yes.
The Committee on Investigation decides those.
Yep.
Calls those people up,
If
and
they
then
haven't
they're the only
already
ones,
privately interviewed them.
right?
Yeah.
And they're the Committee on Investigations, the only ones that get to actually ask them questions and cross-examine them,
So
because that's just weird to me.
I think the Committee on Investigations can ask questions, and then the side that called the witness can ask them questions. But then the other side can't cross-examine them necessarily. They might be given the right to, they might be given the privilege to, but it's not a right.
That's just weird to me.
I know. That's why I was saying,
So
isn't
I don't
that
know.
weird?
Yeah. Maybe we're misunderstanding that, because that would just be weird. That okay, I get to bring up these witnesses, and they can say whatever they want, but then the other the defendant or whatever can't ask them questions.
It's not saying they can't. They're just saying it's not a right. So, like,
It's not a right. Then I can't.
no. There's also this may thing. There's shall, it will happen. They shall have this right, or they may do this thing. So I understand it to be the Committee on Investigations decides if a cross-examination would be illuminating and helpful or not.
Right, but if I'm the defendant or the respondent, maybe I've got questions that they're not anticipating because
Yeah. So this is a place where it could get real crooked, real fast.
yeah.
And I don't know why. I think it's weird, but it's
Who
there.
who put these together? Was this
The three people I'm aware of are Tom Lambrecht, Chap Temple, and Jay Therrell.
okay? You're gonna have to interview. We're gonna have to get a list of questions, and you have to definitely interview them about this. Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out the logistics of it. Like, how is this working? What is the thought behind if this is the case? Why?
Nathan Couch, I know you watched this. You have a better mind for this than us, so I expect a full legal briefing in my inbox tomorrow.
All right, let's go on. We're gonna get caught up in this just because of my ignorance.
Do it.
D, evidence. The committee shall only consider testimony or evidence which is relevant and reliable.
Duh.
Who gets to determine if it's reliable or not?
I don't know.
I mean, that's just,
the reason I'm saying duh is because, like, what's the purpose of even writing this?
right. Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, that's my point. Yeah. Who gets to determine reliable? Of course, we want it to be reliable, but you've got to determine if it's reliable or not.
That's what I said.
That's
duh.
the whole point of
Yeah.
that's the whole point of it, of having a counsel on investigation. They're supposed to investigate if it's reliable.
Yeah.
Anyways, the chairperson or presiding officer, after consultation with counsel for both parties, shall rule on challenges to relevance and reliability. Okay. So the chairperson or presiding officer gets to determine if it's reliable after consultation with both parties. But they get to rule. They get to rule whether it's reliable or not.
There you go.
Okay. The introduction of any material. I could have just read the next sentence and answered that question. The introduction of any material relating to events barred by the statute of limitations, which is 807.3, or it could be 808, depending on whenever the book of discipline is. As evidence, as preface to evidence, or as buildup for evidence in the procedures of the Committee on Investigation or to the trial proceedings shall be permitted when the presiding officer, after consultation with counsel for both parties, rules that such material is relevant and reliable.
So there is a statute of limitations that applies in some circumstances, but in this circumstance, you can actually violate that. You can call on evidence submitted before the statute of limitations if after this certain inquiry has been taken place.
Okay. E, verbatim transcript. There shall be a verbatim record of all proceedings of the Committee on Investigation, except when the committee meets in executive session. The term executive session shall mean the committee meeting alone or with its legal counsel. If the complaint is dismissed or returned to the bishop, a verbatim record shall be sent to the conference secretary for retention. Okay.
You like this. This is the verbatim part, yeah?
Yeah, no, that's good. I mean, if it's a recording, great. If it's a written
Recording's
record,
better.
Yeah, if it's a written record, not so great.
Yeah, intonation matters quite a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, there's nothing else about that one.
Okay.
Conference secretary gets a record of it. Okay.
Nothing you wanted to say about executive session.
No, I was fine. I was fine with it. I know you weren't fine with it. Whenever the council is actually deliberating their decision, I'm okay with reading their decision and how they came about that. I don't really care about them getting together in the room and then deciding how they came to that.
I just knew you'd be pleased that they defined the term executive session.
Oh, no. Yeah, no, that's great. That's fantastic.
All right.
That doesn't happen often. 4, bill of charges and specifications, deliberations, votes, and referral. A vote on each charge and each specific specification shall be taken separately. Okay, so there's multiple charges. You're taking a separate vote on each one, which is what they do in a regular courtroom.
Yep.
Okay, makes sense. It is incumbent on each member of the committee to base his or her vote solely on whether reasonable grounds exist to support the charges. If there are members who are unwilling to uphold the doctrines and disciplines for reasons of conscience or otherwise, such members shall step aside in this matter, and either alternate members or others who are willing to uphold the doctrines, the doctrines and disciplines, may be appointed to the committee to enable it to complete its responsibility.
So you can be GMC, serve on a GMC committee, and then just say, no, I don't want to defend our covenant document.
Yeah, that's a little weird to me. I don't understand. I would have to hear like an instance of where that would be something that's acceptable, I guess, because this makes it seem to be that it would be acceptable in some cases.
I'm imagining, it's possible that you're summoned as a juror in a court of law, in an American or state court of law, where you're actually not in favor of the law, and so you're not going to uphold it,
Sure.
in which case that's your right. But it's a different thing when you're part of a covenant body that you don't have to be a part of based on where you were born. Like, you can leave any time. So it's very strange to me that you would have someone belonging to the covenant body but saying, no, I don't want to defend the covenant.
Yeah, it's really odd. I don't understand. Let me make note of that for a question that you'd have to ask.
Okay, very good. Phrase that however you want.
7.4?
Yeah.
7.4. All right. Let's go on to the next one. A, bill of charges and specifications. A charge is one of the chargeable offenses listed in paragraphs 80 something. A charge shall include more than one such chargeable offense. Shall not include, sorry.
We went over the chargeable offenses last time.
Yes.
There were 7. There were 8 for clergy, 7 for laity. And that's where you can find them, paragraph 807.1 and 2.
Possibly.
Okay. No, that's the exhaustive list of charges that you can make.
That's the specific place where it's at, though.
Yes. Well, wait.
That's what I was...
Oh, that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, somewhere around there.
Okay. Yeah, because this whole thing is like, it's one-off, so it's probably 808.
Yeah. Okay.
At least at the time we're doing this.
Yeah.
Okay, let me read that last sentence again because I messed it up. A charge shall not include more than one such chargeable offenses. So you can't have one offense that includes more than one offense, I guess. That's how a charge, yeah. That's how I took it. You're agreeing with that. More than one charge against the same person may be presented and tried at the same time. More than one charge against the same.
I think it's just saying you don't have to have multiple court proceedings in order to deal with multiple charges. You can.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Each charge must be written within specifications that support the charge. Each charge must be accompanied by one or more specifications of fact. Each specification, standing alone, must allege a factual occurrence that, if found to be true, would support a finding of guilt on the related charge. The specification should be as specific as possible with information such as date, place, and specific event alleged to have occurred. Okay? If you're going to make a charge, make sure it's specific and can stand alone. Is that? Yeah, that's nothing else on that one.
I mean, you hate have to spell it out that way. But yeah, if it's gone this far and you've gotten all these people involved, it sure better be specific, justifiable. And
Yeah.
then
Details.
I think it's just like in legislation on like an American legislature level, there's something called pork barrel dealing, where you have a specific thing you're trying to do, but then you cram a bunch of other stuff in. And I think
Sure.
this is kind of how human brains work. We have something that is the core, and then you add a bunch of stuff on. And I think this is just protecting the process from adding a bunch of pork on. You just get to the facts, ma'am.
Yeah, we've got one charge that's blatantly, obviously has happened.
Mhm.
We can charge them that. You can't stick some other charge underneath it and include it in the same one. So that's kind of iffy that you think might not be passed.
Yeah.
Okay. B, finding of reasonable grounds by committee and referral of bill of charges and specifications for trial. That is a real long title. Number 1, when the respondent is a bishop. A vote to adopt any charge or specification shall require 6 votes. Any bill of charge and specifications adopted shall be sent within 5 days to the bishop charged, to the secretary of the General Conference, to the chair and members of the Transitional Leadership Council, to the council for the church, and to the chairperson of the conference episcopacy committee, if any.
Nice.
Yeah.
Hey, let's. I'm looking at the time, and it's not quite an hour, so I think we should probably better conclude. It would be nice if we get to the end of the section, but
There's 7 points to this section.
it's huge. It's several more pages. So I
Where
say
are we at?
next week
1 hour?
we pick right back up where you just were, which was what 4B1.
I lost track. It's
Yeah.
4B1.
Yeah. So I
And
say we pick
section
right up there
7.
next week. And then we await the insights of people who watch this. I haven't looked at how many people watched the last one. Have you looked at how many?
I just assume it's not a ton because it's very tedious.
Yeah,
and-
why would it be a ton? Okay, over 100. I'm going to reload
Wow.
this page real quick and see. As of right now, 136. So you 130 some people who watch this nerdy section, God bless you. I want some emails with your analysis. We are obviously kind of floundering in how we're looking at this stuff, but it's important to understand it. So if you have any insights, that would be really helpful to help us sound smarter, or any questions that you want for us to eventually bring the authors, write those out.
Definitely those, yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's going to be a lot. If you got questions, ask the questions. Because we want answers.
Yeah.
We're not experts at this.
We will be by the time this is over.
Yeah.
Good night. All right. Well, listen, if you appreciate the work we're doing, you know how to show some love. But anything else to say before we close this off?
Nope, let's end it.
All right. This is us landing the plane. Goodbye.